Today. So we are going to start off with that beautiful pondering by the lovely sage Kermit the Frog because you must incorporate the Muppets into all the major holidays. Okay? Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailor? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da dee da da do, la da 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 dee da do.
Cheryl Barlow and Laura Fisher, thank you. Well, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, St. George. My name is Reverend Laura Hallet, and I sound funny. Not sure. Oh, it's so wonderful to have you here on this beautiful Easter morning. I'm so grateful to see each and every one of you. We are shaking things up a little bit today. We're going to do things a little differently than what we normally do in our order of service. So Cheryl and Laura started us off with some music here. If this is your first time here, we have a little gift for you, just some information about our center, and then a free gift in our bookstore after service. So if it's your first time and you are interested in receiving that, just raise your hand, and that Gwen's back here with the packets, and she will gladly hand one to you. There we go. Got a couple of new people here, Gwen. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Easter morning. This is also Passover. Very, very rarely does Passover and Easter coincide, and this happens to be one of the years that we have both Easter and Passover at the same time. So before we get too far into it, I don't know about anybody else. I got up real early this morning. I was up at 4, and when I got on the internet, I was kind of dismayed to see what's happening in Sri Lanka. And so if you haven't heard about it, there's been 8 bombings this morning. They've targeted 3 Catholic churches. There's over 200 people dead already, and over 500 injured so far in the explosion. So I'd just like to take a moment and just have a bit of silence for all the souls in Sri Lanka right now. And I know that the presence of God is right there with each and every person involved in this tragedy. each and every person who is affected by it in any way. But the presence of God is always there. It guides, it directs. We can't always know why, but there is a divine pattern happening throughout the universe, and that I rest in that truth, and I know that is the truth of everyone there. And so we just simply send our love. Knowing perfection is happening right now. All right, we're going to begin with our invocation this morning, given to us by practitioner Mary Klein. Cheryl and Laura are going to sing us into this with one of my favorite songs.
God of glory, God of power, God of goodness, God of grace, God of wisdom, God of love, God of light, transcending time and space. God in me, God in me.
I acknowledge there is one constant presence as I turn within and tap into that indwelling presence. One force encompassing everything that is in existence. One energy from which all things are made. I recognize this as truth. There is nothing that exists outside this one presence. As I breathe in, the grace of God permeates all of my cells, feeds me to the core of my being. There is no place that God is not. It moves itself through me and throughout all creation. Having recognized the magnificence and awesome power of the one presence that is absolutely everywhere within the universe, I realize the same intelligence that created everything does not stop being where I am. Therefore, it is within me. I am one with this presence. I am a divine being made of God energy, having a human experience. As I know this to be true for me, I know it is true for everyone here on this beautiful Easter spring morning. There is nothing outside this one. I consciously align myself with this indwelling presence each moment as I continually cherish that which is within me. There is no better means of developing my inner life than by continuing beginning again each day, each minute, and each moment. This is what staying present moment means to me. And so, as we embark on today's journey on this beautiful and amazing morning to celebrate Easter, a symbol of our divinity and our immortality, with Reverend Laura's Easter message, open your loving heart and listen with new awareness. So I bless and thank all those who are here today, all those who give of their time to create this environment each week. Blessings to Reverend Laura, to all of our teachers and students who demonstrate a strong quest for knowing, for the knowledge of our principles and philosophy. And so it is.
And so it is.
I'd like to affirm these words with us, they'll be on the board.
God of glory, God of power, God of goodness, God of grace, God of wisdom, God transcending time and space. God in me, God in me, God in me, God in me, God in me.
Thank you. So as I said, we are going to shake things up a little bit. Today we're talking about immortality. The title is We Are All Immortal. And our founder, Ernest Holmes, had a lot to say about immortality. And so I've asked some of our beloved people here to come up and share some of his words with you throughout the service this morning. And so we're going to begin with Sue Fulmer.
Morning, and especially in times of terror and trial, it's important to listen to these words and make them part of our hearts from our way-showers. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, delusions that pursue the human mind is the idea of death. Yet this idea is contrary to all nature and to all reason and logic. It is inconceivable that a just God would create a temporary human being to flourish and then to wither. If God is an eternal creative presence and mind, then its creation must be equally eternal. God is the life of all humankind, and its idea of life can only include progression, unfoldment, and evolution. Each one of us is on the pathway to an endless expression of life, truth, and beauty. Behind us is the all. Before us, within us, and expressing through us is the all. Therefore, I believe in the immortality and the continuity of the individual stream of consciousness. The soul is the one triumphant, indestructible, and unconquerable thing you possess, shot from the invisible into this experience. It constitutes your great reality. But why wait for physical death to enjoy and experience your immortal being? Do not prepare to die. Prepare to live, whether you are 10 years old or 100. There is no death. It is impossible for you to die. Stop trying to die and learn to live.
I close my eyes only for a moment, and the moment's gone. All my dreams pass before my eyes with curiosity. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Same old song, just a drop of water in an endless sea. All we do crumbles to the ground, though we refuse to see. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Now don't hang on. Nothing lasts forever but the earth and sky. It slips away, and all your money won't another minute buy. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind.
All we are is dust in the wind.
Dust
this month we've been looking at the ideas of diversity and inclusivity. And when we're thinking about inclusivity, I spoke the first 2 weeks pretty much about diversity, but when we're thinking about inclusivity, we begin to look at those things that we have in common. And this is one of the truths that every single one of us has in common. And most of us kind of overlook it. We believe that we are this human body, this human form. You know, one of our core principles, in fact, it's the third core principle, it was the first one I memorized because I love the beauty of it, was we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. We believe in the eternality and the immortality and the continuity of the individual soul. We don't believe that this soul that we have is limited to this experience. In the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes talks about planes of existence. And he says that there are all these planes of existence, all different kinds of them. This happens to be one of them. And we're experiencing life in this particular plane of existence. Now, he says that in his belief system, he doesn't believe that we come back to this plane, although I think there are lots of examples of people who have come back to this plane. But Ernest says, I've done that. Why would I want to do it again? Basically, I paraphrase that a bit. But that's pretty much what he's saying about it. He says, I want to see how my soul can expand. I'm out there for that evolution of my individual soul, forever and ever expanding. He believes we're on a spiral, an ever upward spiral of evolution, and that each experience that we have as a soul incarnated in a body gives us more experience, and we just continue to progress up that spiral of evolution. And so this idea that we are immortal beings, you know, we basically come from a Christian faith. Christian, or at least one of the Abrahamic traditions, either Judaism or Christianity. Those are what most people who are in Science of Mind, because Science of Mind started in the United States, so most people come from that form, that tradition. And so we have these beliefs that have been passed down to us. The Passover story is about moving from slavery into freedom. The Easter story is about moving from death to life, everlasting. And so when we look at these things, we can look at the symbolism and think about how that actually applies in our life today. If we take that Easter story, the Easter story actually didn't begin with Passover on Good Friday. The Easter story began on Christmas. Because in Christmas, we are born. The Christ is born. They called the Christ Jesus in Christianity. Jesus is born. When this happens, this is God becoming incarnated into form. God became man. The Word became flesh, is how John writes it in his book. The Word became flesh. So God became human form. And then at the resurrection, Jesus, the human form of God, evolves in consciousness to this life immortal. Well, if we look at that, that is the same thing that we do in our creative process here. We have the involution, spirit moving into form. And then we have the evolution of form moving back to spirit. So we can say the Christmas story is the left side of our V here, spirit moving into form, and that the Easter story is the right side of our V, form evolving back into spirit. And so we have this constant evolution. It's not a one-time thing. This is a constant spiral of evolution that is constantly happening. We evolve into one form, spirit evolves into one form, as our individual soul evolves into a body. And then the body, through the natural progression of this plane of existence that we are on, transitions out of it. So the soul then has to leave the body because the body is no longer able to sustain it. Now this happens in all varying amounts of time. I'm sure most of you can think of somebody that you know or have heard of that's over 100 years old, that has been in this form for over a century. And then we have examples of people who don't make it very long at all. My great-grandmother, one of my great-grandmothers, lived to be 101. My baby brother lived for 3 days. That is an evolution there. Each soul is on its own path. The soul of my brother was a very short-lived one. soul of my grandmother on this plane of existence was a long-lived one. Each one of them had their own experiences. Each one came into this being to experience whatever it needed to experience, experienced it, and moved on. You know, I'm sure the people in Sri Lanka, as they got ready for Easter service this morning, didn't even consider that this would be the end of their existence here on this plane. Sometimes it happens suddenly and shockingly. And sometimes it happens after a natural progression and a long, well-lived life. We can't know that. That's not for us to make that decision. Well, actually, Ernest says we can make that decision. He says we can decide when we're going to die or not. I'm not sure about that one, but he believes it. So this constant evolution, this ebb and flow of consciousness into form and back out to spirit, is an ongoing process. And it is the way that spirit experiences life through all of us. Now, we are spirit incarnate. We are the divine essence here on earth. And we're here for God to experience itself in all of these different ways. And so this idea of this evolution of consciousness is what Ernest says that if by the very fact that we are conscious beings and we can see that our consciousness exists outside of this body. You know, if we look at our brain, we can't pinpoint in our brain, in our human brain, where our consciousness is. There's no place that we can, we can't get an MRI and say, oh, look, that's about right there. That's all my consciousness. It doesn't exist that way. We have all had experiences where we seem to be experiencing things, knowing things that are not part of our physical being right now. You get that idea that someone's going to call you. Well, it doesn't really come from your human mind. There's no way that could happen. It comes from our consciousness being tapped into that universal mind. And we begin to experience it in a greater way because we are not confined to this physical form. We are transcending this physical form all the time. One of Ernest's quotes here. Whoop, wrong way. To know that we maintain an identity independent of the physical body is proof enough of immortality. The fact that we can know that we are not limited by our physical body is proof that life is immortal right there in itself. And so let's hear a little bit more. I think we have a song. I just have to look at my list now because we're doing everything differently. We have a song. Then we have a reading.
I'm coming out of this long night's journey into the day, and I'm not afraid anymore to look in the mirror and wipe all the tears off of my face, and sadness fades, ready to be who I came here to be. I'm ready to be everything that I am, everything that I am. Too many years I've spent putting square pegs in circular holes. I didn't know myself. Why would I come goes away out in a new world as a creation perfect and whole in loving flow. I'm ready to be who I came here to be. I'm ready to be everything that I am, everything that I'm ready to be who I came here to be. Ready to be everything that I am, everything that I am the I am. 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 I am the I am.
Okay, my reading for this morning is the spiritual nature of the universe, God, mind, intelligence from all viewpoints, science, philosophy, and religion, always was, always is, and always will be, without beginning and without end. Eternal, immortal, timeless. If we are a creation of that which is eternal and immortal, if we are a creation of God and God is what we are, can what we are be other than immortal and eternal? How impossible is it for us to believe that those whom have loved and who have passed away are really dead? We do not think of them as dead at all. We think of them as living somewhere else, still conscious of themselves, still casting back occasional glances of our experience, and perhaps waiting for that time when we too shall join them. This is not only a hope, but it is a conviction. We all feel a sense of immortality. We intuitively believe in the immortality of the soul. We believe in it because things would lack meaning, purpose, and intelligence without it.
So, life would lack meaning, intelligence, and purpose without immortality. If we thought that all we had was this existence here on earth, how bland and how plain that life would be. I know how plain it would be because that was the life I thought of before I came here. I thought I was born and I died, and that was it. A parenthesis in eternity. Just one little bookmark of time would be all that I had. Once I really began to understand and embody that idea of immortality, my life shifted dramatically. I found in there a sense of freedom from a lot of fear. Freedom from the ideas of death. And that transposed itself to many other areas of my life. Because I realized that each day, each moment, each situation I encounter is a chance for me to be reborn again. You know, the mystics often say that we need to die daily. We need to die daily. For me, that is a very profound thing, and it's a practice that I engage in. Dying daily to all kinds of different things in my life, all different kinds of situations. When I can take a situation that is bothering me, that's troublesome, and realize that that situation is not the truth of me. If I have an idea of lack happening in my life right now, and I buy into that idea of lack and limitation, then I have an experience that is based on that idea. But if I can die to that idea in the morning, be born again, and realize that that doesn't have to be the reality of my experience, then my next day is totally different. It's a totally different experience every time I can die daily to that. I was reading a book about the last week of Jesus' life. It's called The Last Week by Marcus Ford. And in there he's saying that we need to actually crucify things in our lives. We actually need to crucify them. We need to actually kill them off in our life. And that the symbolism of the crucifixion is a powerful tool that we can use. If I crucify my ideas of lack and limitation, then I don't have to experience them as much. If I crucify those addictions that keep me stuck in a certain place, then I don't have to have that controlling my life anymore. And then we have this idea of resurrection. If we are dying every day, then we are reborn anew the next day. And you know what? It doesn't just have to be a day. It can be second by second. We can die second by second and rebirth ourselves. Just like the phoenix is reborn out of the ashes. And the butterfly is birthed itself out of its cocoon. Each day that can be our experience. By changing those beliefs that we have about whatever that experience is, here in Science of Mind we call them limiting beliefs, or race consciousness ideas. These ideas that we think are absolutely true, and there's no truth behind them. There's no spiritual truth behind them. You know, this idea of this flesh suit that we are put on when we enter this plane of existence. If I have more belief in the reality of the functioning of this suit than I do in the immortality and the continuity of my individual soul, then I'm going to live in fear of this suit having some kind of illness or disease or something happening to it. But if I can set aside those ideas of limitation, that I am not confined to this physical form. This is the physical form my soul is using to experience this plane of existence. I don't know what my next physical form will look like. It may be formless. I don't know that, and I'm okay not knowing that. But I do know that my soul is going to continue on. That this evolution of consciousness is going to be spiraling on and on and on and on. And so there are things that I can do in this plane of existence here that'll help me in the next one. Ernest says that when we leave this plane of existence, we take our entire consciousness with us. All of our memories, our personality, all of that stuff. Because he said, as in that other quote, we are not limited to that body. In fact, that we have a personality is proof that we are immortal. The fact that we have a consciousness is proof that we are immortal. That's what we get to take with us. And so my task on this plane of existence is to clear away as much of the crud as I can, because I don't want to carry that baggage with me on the next trip. You know, that's my goal in life, is to get rid of the stuff that has held me back in this particular plane of existence. Let myself die to that and be reborn anew without that baggage taking it along. I don't want to bring that stuff with me. And that's my ultimate goal in life, is to be able to do that, to take with me a higher level of consciousness than I came into this plane of existence with. Because the same level of consciousness is, the same consciousness is happening, it's the same thing through me, but I get to let it evolve in each experience that I'm having on each plane of existence. And so that's what I'm doing. That's my goal in life, is to be able to do that, is to take that evolved consciousness with me and allow it to transcend any of the limitations that I've experienced in this world. I don't want to take them with me, so I don't need to. So another way we do that is that we begin to live as if we are already immortal. We begin to live every single day fully, as absolutely fully as we possibly can. If we could honestly comprehend that this, whatever I am, whatever I call Laura here, is eternal and immortal, and it's never going to end, then I don't have to be worried about what I'm doing here. I don't have to be concerned if this life ends suddenly. I don't have to be concerned about anything about that. This suit is limited to this physical plane of existence. This fleshy body right here is limited to what is happening here. But I, Laura, the essence of who I am, doesn't go on anymore, doesn't stay in this body, it goes on. It moves on in that ever-spiraling evolution of consciousness. And I think that's the greatest gift that we have for the Easter story. I think that's the thing that will transform our lives more than anything else. We have another song here.
I'm coming home with a stone strapped onto my back. I'm coming home with a burning hope, turning all my blues to black. I'm looking for a sacred hand to carve into my soul. Ghost of comfort, angel's breath, keep this life inside my chest. This world falls on me, hopes of immortality. Everywhere I turn, all the beauty just keeps shaking me. Now I woke up in the middle of a dream, scared the world was too much for me. Shazara said, don't let go, just plant the seeds and watch them grow. I've slept the rainy canyon lands, full drenched in my skin. Always wait to find a face to soothe this troubled land. Well, then the world falls on me, dreams of immortality. Everywhere I turn, all the beauty just keeps shaking me. Now I'm running to the end of the earth, and I'm swimming to the edge of the sea, and I'm laughing under a starry sky. This world wasn't meant for me. Don't bury me. I wish I was a nomad, an Indian or saint. Edge of death would disappear, leaving nothing left to take. I wish I was a nomad, an Indian or saint. Give me walking shoes, feathered arms, and a key to heaven's gates. Oh, this world falls on me, dreams of immortality. Everywhere I turn, all the beauty just keeps shaking me. This world falls and on me, to the end of the earth, and I'm swimming to the edge of the sea. I'm laughing under the starry sky. This world is not for me. I got hopes of immortality.
Hi, I'm Callista. It is a happy outlook to feel that we are born of eternal day, and that the spiritual sun can never set upon the glory of the soul. And it is a happy thing to believe that no person need prepare to meet the Maker. We are meeting the divine Creator every day and each hour of every day. We meet God in the rising sun, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love, and in the silence of our own souls. And as the crowning event of a person's experience here, the soul takes its flight to meet God as host in the higher realms of a sublime and eternal reality, not apart from, but one with the all-pervading presence. For the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We should all live and act and think from this concept that there is within us something deeper, higher, finer, and broader. There is within us something which can never want, something which cannot be sick, something which cannot suffer pain, which knows no fear, and will never taste of death. It is an immortal principle which triumphs over everything that is human, weak, finite, and frail. We do not earn our immortality. It is a gift from God. But we do have to earn the ability to experience and enjoy it. This is a gift we shall have to make to ourselves. This world and the next are but two parts of one journey, which can, if we permit it, be filled with hope and joy.
All right, let's take this into prayer. And so just centering myself in this truth that there is only one life, one power, one presence, one divine creative source of all. And though it goes by many names and it shows up in many incarnations, I simply know it is God. And I know that God is all there is. That nothing existed before God. And nothing existed outside of God. Because all is God. All was created in the image and the likeness of perfection and wholeness, of love and peace, of abundance and wisdom and clarity. This is the truth of all life. This is the truth of me right here and right now. And this is the truth of each person that has ever been, that is right now, and that is yet to be. For we are all, each, that individual spark of the divine, carrying this human flesh and living this life on this plane of existence. And so knowing this truth, I just simply speak my word, that we are all on a soul's journey, and that soul's journey is forever and ever evolving, that we are reaching higher and higher levels of consciousness right here and right now, that we die daily to any ideas of lack or limitation, any fear or judgment. We set aside these things that seem to limit us in this physical expression that we call life here on earth. For I know that this is not the truth of our being, that the truth is we are eternal and immortal, that we are that everlasting presence of the divine right here and right now. We are that unconditional love, that perfect peace, that divine clarity and wisdom. We are happening right now in divine right order. I know this is the truth, for it can be no other way. And I just simply give thanks for this knowing. I'm so grateful to feel this power and presence. I'm so grateful to feel it operating in my life and to see it operating in the lives of everyone around me. And so I just simply release this word into the law, into that creative mind that always says yes, that knows no limitation or bounds, just simply is expressing itself as pure divinity. I let it go and I let it be. And so it is.
So it is.
Okay, so now is that time when we take an offering. And this offering is generally what we do to express our idea of abundance here on this physical plane. And so as you're preparing your gift that you have today, I invite you to hold it close to your heart and give it a silent blessing in whichever way you choose to do so. And if you're wishing to do an electronic tithe today, we have the means for that after service. If you will see one of us, we'll be happy to get that transaction done for you with our electronic system that we have here in place. And so if you would just repeat after me, your offering affirmation here. This gift I give.
This gift I give
Goes forth from me.
goes forth from me.
Does amazing and miraculous things.
Does amazing and miraculous things.
And returns to me in kind.
And returns to me in kind.
Pressed down and overflowing.
Pressed down and overflowing.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Maybe give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you've ever done for me is to help me take my life less seriously. It's only life after all. Well, darkness has a hunger that's insatiable. And lightness has a call that's hard to hear. I wrap my fear around me like a blanket. I sailed my ship of safety till I sank it. I'm crawling on your shore. I went to the doctor. I went to the mountains. I looked to the children. I drank from the fountain. There's more than one answer to these questions. Point me in a crooked line. And the less I see my source, more sound definitive. The closer I am to find. Yeah. Closer I am to find. I went to see the doctor of philosophy with a poster of Rasputin and a beard down to his knees. He never did marry or see a big great movie. He graded my performance. He said he could see through me. I spent 4 years prostrate to the higher mind. Got my paper and I was free. I went to the doctor. I went to the mountains. I looked to the children. I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions. Well, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I see my source, more time definitive. The closer I am to find. Yeah. Closer I am to find. Yeah. So sorry. I stopped by the bar at 3 a.m. to seek solace in a bottle or possibly a friend. And I woke up with a headache like my head against a board. Twice as cloudy as I've been the night before, and I went in seeking clarity.
Sing along if you know it.
I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. Yeah, we go to the doctor, we go to the mountains, we look to the children, we drink from the fountains. So we go to the Bible, we go to the workout, we read up our revival, we stand up for the lookout. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source, more God definitive. Closer I am to find. Yeah. Closer I am to find. Closer I am to find.
they wonderful? Let's give it another hand. They worked really hard putting this together for us today, so I really appreciate it. Just a few final thoughts and a couple of announcements. I'm not going to go through all of the announcements. I'm going to put them on the screen, scrolling through there afterwards. We didn't do our meet and greet at the beginning, so you get to do that afterwards, after the service is over. But there's a few things I wanted to point out in our announcements. We have a couple of workshops coming up. There are sign-up sheets on the back table over there. There is a yellow sheet that was on your chairs, and there's extra ones back there that has our monthly announcements on it. We are beginning to do a fundraiser for a local youth charity that's called Youth Futures, which is a shelter for children up to age 18. And so we're going to be collecting lots of different food items for them. One of the things that they really need is cereal. Tatis has put a sign up here on the board, tells us a little bit more about Youth Futures. But we're going to have a collection box in the foyer like we did at Christmas time for a switch point. And we're going to be collecting different items for the shelter, the youth shelter. So keep that in mind if you have anything. They needed canned fruit, pasta sauce, cookies, crackers, things that kids eat, that kind of stuff. So anything like that would be most appreciated if you have anything extra. Oh, they also needed gardening tools. They're setting up a garden in their yard, in their facility there. So that anything that you might have, like if you're going to give it away, you're done with that, whatever that was, or extra seeds, things like that. They're looking for some help with some gardening items. So that's another thing that they're looking for. So we have Mary Klein available for prayer. She'll be here in the practitioner office after service if you'd like to have a brief personal spiritual mind treatment with her. And got lots of food and stuff back there. I noticed all of it coming in. So I hope you spend some time getting to know each other. Next week also we have a potluck. It's before our workshop. So if you're after service before the workshop, so 12 to 1 kind of time period. So if you're interested in that, there's a sign-up sheet on the table there to indicate what you think you might be bringing. So we have a wide variety there. All right, I think we are ready to close it out.
We're going to make them sing.
We're going to make them sing. All right, good.